Welcome back to the Nuggets of Gold podcast and YouTube channel. So for today's episode, I want to talk about Nick Bosa and the Comeback Player of the Year award. Now, pretty weird. I expected Nick Bosa to be at the top of the list in terms of odds to win this award, and that is not really the case at all. Right now, Dak Prescott, Joe Burrow, Carson Wentz, Derwin James, and James Conner are somehow all ahead of Nick Bosa for Comeback Player of the Year, which to me doesn't really make much sense. The two guys that were like really in the race, in my opinion, were going to be Dak Prescott, or I guess three: Dak Prescott, Joe Burrow, and then Nick Bosa. Now, I get mentioning the other guys, but there is no way that Nick Bosa shouldn't be at the top of this list this year. I find that really, really surprising. I'll talk about Bosa first, and then I'll talk about Dak a little bit. I'm not going to talk about the other guys because I don't really think it's a discussion outside of Dak and Nick Bosa right now. But when we're looking at Nick Bosa's season, he is having a top three, maybe top four season for edge rushers right now. Currently, this is after the Bengals game. He has 14 sacks. He's second in the league in hurries to only Myles Garrett with 40, or sorry, not hurries, pressures with 45. He is disrupting quarterbacks so much. He's also a part of a defensive line that, now maybe people have some recency bias to the Niners 2019 defensive line, but their defensive line is not generating nearly as much pressure as it was in that season. The loss of DeForest Buckner, no D Ford, it's definitely taken its toll on the Niners defensive line. Right now, probably their second best pass rusher is Arden Key. So Nick Bosa is getting double teamed a lot. I believe, I think it was 2 weeks ago, he was the most double teamed player in the league. I still think that is the case. But then on top of all of this, he is one of the clutchest pass rushers in the league. If you guys remember how great Von Miller, Khalil Mack were a few years ago, the big thing that stood out was, okay, these guys are dominating in the fourth quarter. Half of Bosa's sacks have come in either the fourth quarter or overtime. And last week, he saved the game with a sack. And that's how it's been every week. He comes in with a big pressure, he makes a big play, and he saves the 49ers games. So he is impacting the win-loss record by a lot, and he's also put up ridiculous numbers this year. Right now, I would say he's got to be top three, top four in defensive player of the year. And it's crazy that he is not comeback player of the year right now. I get that quarterbacks have an advantage at a lot of these stats, and this isn't to knock Dak Prescott, but Dak isn't having some crazy year. Dak's right now sitting at about 68% completion percentage, 3,300 yards, 24 touchdowns, 10 picks. That's good. That's solid. But you look at the weapons he has, and I get that Amari Cooper and Michael Gallup were banged up a little bit this year, but he has an all-star caliber offense around him, and Nick Bosa is playing on a defense that, outside of the linebacking core and Jimmy Ward this year, Jimmy Ward has been amazing, and there's been some guys that have been good, but outside of the linebacking core, they don't have some crazy secondary or some crazy complementary pieces around him. So he's not leading it right now, and I do not get that at all. I guess you give the quarterback the edge. I mean, sure, but Dak Prescott's not having one of his best years. He's sitting around middle of the pack in terms of most quarterback stats, analytical stats. I don't really know how you do this. That's tough. I mean, I don't see it. And I like Dak Prescott. I think he's a top 10 quarterback in the league. I think the Cowboys are a great team. I think that you look at how big of an impact Nick Bosa has played on defense. The only other guys that you can really bring up that have affected the game that much as him are Aaron Donald, Micah Parsons, TJ Watt, Myles Garrett. Those are the only names I think that are in that realm of, they're having that big of an impact on the defensive side of the ball. If the 49ers defense didn't have Nick Bosa right now, they would be in complete shambles. They would be generating almost no pressure. But this is a guy that's getting double teamed, beating double teams, and when it's time to go get a sack and win the game, he does it routinely, it feels like, this season. So Nick Bosa should 100% be the comeback player of the year. And defensive player of the year, you heard me start to say that, he should be in the mix for that too. So maybe I'll do that next week, but I don't know where he is in the terms of defensive player of the year, but he should definitely be the comeback player of the year. And if he's not, That's to me, that is ridiculous. And I like Dak, like I said, I like Joe Burrow. I'm very high on both those guys, but the impact that Nick Bosa is having is far greater than they are having when you take away like the quarterback element. If it's comeback quarterback of the year, sure, but it's comeback player of the year, and Nick Bosa definitely deserves this award.